Hi students. So today I wanted to go over the worksheet that I sent out to everybody. Um, Thank you to those who did it. I was able to see your answers, and I also was able to set it up so you could see the right answers. So you would know how you did right after you took it. So we're just going to go over the questions one by one, and I'll explain why the answer is what the correct answer is, why you can sometimes think the incorrect answer is the right answer, and things like that. So the first question is, let me you what happened, right? So it's either say, tell, or speak. Those are the answers that we have. So the answer that's correct is, let me tell you what happened. And this is why it's the correct answer. So let me tell you what happened. That's the correct answer because when we use the verb tell, the way that we use it, the way that you can help you remember is you tell someone something, right? So in the sentence, it says, let me tell you what happened. So you, which can be anybody, right? It can be me, it could be her, it could be him. So you could say, let me, that's the you tell someone, you is the someone, right? Something, what happened. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell someone something, right? So that's why we use tell, is because we are telling somebody, which is you, something, right? So there's a person that's telling another person something, and that's why we use tell. The next question is, Julia, that we can leave early. So this one's kind of confusing because you probably in your head were thinking, okay, the teacher told me that we use the verb tell or told when we're explaining something or giving directions, right? And we use say or said when we are just words are coming out of our mouth, right? It doesn't have to be directions. It doesn't have to be instructions. It can just be anything. You can say anything, but you tell people to do something, right? Or you tell people a story. So the answer is Julia said. So you're probably like, it should be told, right? So this is why it's said and not told. So Julia said that we can leave early. This is the correct answer because remember, you say something, right? You said something. Julia said, what did she say? We can leave early. That's what she said, right? If it was Julia told that we can leave early, it's incorrect because of how the sentence is put together. Remember that when you use the verb tell or told, you need to have a person or a group, but people to come after, right? You need to tell somebody something, right? Remember how we talked about what take means and what get means? And remember how get, you have to have two people? Well, when you use tell or told, sometimes in the sentences, you know that you can only use told because there has to be another person that you tell something to, right? So the structure is the person that's talking tells somebody, or the person that's talking tells another person something, right? So Julia told, which is just the past tense of tell, Julia told, and you need to have another person there after told. So that's why we use said. Even though Julia is giving directions, she's saying you can leave early, we can leave early, right? even though she's giving directions, because it doesn't say Julia told this person. It just says Julia is telling these words. These words came out of her mouth, right? These are the words that she said. That's why we use said instead of told. Okay, so the next one, our manager, he wanted to quit. So again, is it told? Is it said? It should be said, right? Because the words that came out of his mouth were he wanted to quit. But it's told. He told our manager he wanted to quit, and this is why. So, again, he told our manager he wanted to quit. That's the correct answer because you tell someone something. You say something. So that's why we use told, is because he told, and the person that he tells is our manager. And that came right after the verb told. He told our manager he wanted to quit. You tell someone something, or you told someone something, right? And the sentence, he said, our manager, he wanted to quit. Here's why it's incorrect, because remember when I said you say something? That's kind of one of the rules that you can use to help you to know whether to use say or tell. You say something to someone. You said something. The something was that he wanted to quit, so that's there. Said is there. The person that says it, this person that's talking, is there. But there isn't a person there, right? When you use say, you don't need to have a person here. And because there's a person here, you can say something anytime and it doesn't matter who hears you, right? So that's why you can use say when you just say words that come out of your mouth. But when you use tell or told, it means that someone else needs to be there to hear it, right? So, but that being said, in English, because it's English and there are a lot of exceptions, there are a lot of things that don't follow the rules. You could use said, you just have to change the order of the sentence. You need to add something to the sentence to make it make sense in English, to make it sound correct. So when we use tell, the verb, it automatically lets the person listening, in native speakers, hear the word tell, and they're like, okay, when you use tell or told, the person that comes, you wouldn't say he told to our manager. You don't need to say that because when you use the verb tell, it already lets people know that it is, you're talking to another person. That person is talking to another person. They gave the instruction, they gave the direction, or they told the story to another person, right? But when you use say, it doesn't have to mean that it was to another person. So that's why when you use somebody right after said, you need to use to, the word to connect them, to let people know these words that came out of their mouth were to this person. Instead of just saying, he said our manager, that sounds like he said, right? He said our manager. Though he just said the words our manager, he wanted to quit. And that doesn't really make sense. So you need to say to let people know, okay, he said something, words came out of his mouth, and it was to another person. He said to our manager he wanted to quit. So you'll see it has everything. You have you, right? You have a person said to someone, which is our manager, something. He wanted to quit. That's what he said, right? So the next question is, she to me, I don't love you anymore. Now, The correct answer is said. She said to me, I don't love you anymore. And somebody put in, I think they said, she told to me, I don't love you anymore. Now, remember how I just said for the last question, you can use he said and then say who you're talking to, but you just have to use the word to, right? This is why it's said. She said to me, I don't love you anymore. Because the sentence says she to me, because it says to me, you can't use told, because told already, you don't need to say told to me. It would just say she told me, right? You don't need to. But if you use the verb say, and in this case it's past tense said, she said, and then you have a person, you need to say to me. So that's why it's said, because you can only say she said to me. That's correct. If you wanted to use the verb told, you would not say she told to me. You would say she told me. That's all you would have to say. But with said, you need to say she said to me. My son says. My son says he loves me all the time. You say something, right? So it says, my son says he loves me all the time. Now, this one kind of has to do with some verb tense that we learned, right? It's say, but we use says, right? Because in simple present tense, when you're talking about one person that isn't you, right? When you're talking about he or she or it or somebody that you don't know, if it's a he or she, or they don't identify as a he or she, you can say says, right? My son says he loves me all the time. My son says he loves me all the time. It wouldn't be my son say he loves me all the time, right? So, because you have to add a S. My son says he loves me all the time. You say something, right? My son says something. My son says he loves me all the time. And the reason we can use say in the simple present tense, right, is because he's saying it all the time. It's something that happens a lot. It's not that he said it once. He says it all the time. It happens a lot. And remember that you don't use tell because you tell someone something. And in this sentence, what comes after the verb is the word he. And yeah, that's someone, right? That's a person. But it's when it says he, it's talking about my son. My son says he loves me all the time. But if you wanted to use tell, my son tells me he loves me all the time. So that's how you would use tell, is you just would have to make sure that you put in another person after the verb tell, right? My son tells. But the correct answer is says, for how the question is. My son says he loves me all the time. Okay, now this is another one that's kind of confusing. So a free sample. I took a free sample. That's the one that I wanted you to pick, just because when you say, oh, I took a free sample, it means it's simple past tense, right? I took a free sample. So it just means this action happened in the past, this one thing that happened in the past. I took a free sample. But why is it not I got a free sample? Because when you when you get a free sample, you're taking it from somebody else. Somebody else puts it out there and you take it from them. So I wanted to talk about that. Or why isn't it, I take a free sample, right? Why can't it be simple present tense instead of simple past tense? I take a free sample. I take a free sample. I took a free sample. I got a free sample. They're all correct ways to say that in English. The only thing is some of them mean different things. I took a free sample means that it's in the past, right? It's this one action that happens in the past. I take a free sample means you do it a lot, right? Because it's the simple present tense. I got a free sample, it just means that someone was there and they gave it to you, right? Because we talked about how take and got. Take is something that you do without permission. It's something that only involves you. And get or got is something that involves two people. Somebody has to give it to you or give you permission, right? But sometimes when you're at the food stand or whatever, and they give you a free sample, right? They're there to give it to you. It's not always just there for you to take without permission. Sometimes somebody gives it to you. So that's why I got a free sample works too. I wanted you to say took, but really this answer could have been I got a free sample, I take a free sample. It just depends on what it is you're trying to say and what the situation is. All right, this one's easy. I get sick a lot. The reason it's get is because you use get when someone else is involved, when somebody else is giving it to you, right? You get sick from other people. You have sickness. When you are sick, it's from somebody else. So that's why you use get instead of, oh, I take sick a lot. It's not take because it's not something that you get all by yourself, right? It's something you have to have, somebody has to give it to you. My husband, and the correct answer is got. My husband got a new car. So why is it not gets? Why is it not gets? So my husband got a new car. When you say this verb tense, right? Simple past tense, it is an action that happened in the past, but it also sounds like, oh, he was given a car or he bought a new car. That's how my husband got a new car, because you use the verb got. So it means that there was an exchange. There was somebody that gave him the car with permission, right? But if you say, my husband gets a new car, it's grammatically correct, right? That makes sense in English. But what does it mean, right? My husband gets a new car. When you use simple present tense, remember, if you say my husband gets a new car, or if you said I get a new car, it means, it sounds like it happens a lot, right? When we use simple present tense. My husband gets a new car a lot. It's something that we use it for actions that happen a lot. But also, sometimes I've heard people in English say this, like, my husband won a prize. He gets a new car. In those cases, it does make sense because it's not saying that it happens a lot. But if you were talking to somebody and they were like, what's going on in your life? How are you? What's happening? How's your husband? Oh, you could say, oh, he's good. He's doing fine. You would say he got a new car, right? You would not say my husband gets a new car, because you're telling somebody what happened, how your husband is doing, something that happened to him. So you use got, not gets. My husband gets a new car. Gets kind of makes it sound like it was like a prize or something, like it was something that he won, right? In a competition. Oh, my husband gets a new car. That's what that one sounds like. But we use got because when we use simple past tense, it makes it seem more like, oh, he was given a new car or he bought a new car. But when you use gets, it kind of sounds like, it's kind of confusing because it's like, does that mean he gets them a lot? Does he get a new car a lot? Does it mean that he won the new car? What does it mean? So that's why it's got. So this one, so can you our picture? Can you get our picture? Can you take our picture? Can you took our picture? Now, we know that it's not can you took our picture because the question is can you? And it's present tense, right? Can you? Can you do this right now? So it's not going to be took, but is it take or is it get? Can you get our picture? Can you take our picture? Now in your head, you're probably like, okay, when somebody takes a picture, it's you need two people. Somebody else needs to take the picture of me or my family, right? Or I take the picture of something. But when you take a picture, it's just like one person, right? What is the right answer? So this one, it can be both of them. Either of those can be the correct answer. Just because, can you get our picture? Or can you take our picture are both things that English speakers say when you are asking somebody to take a picture of you or the people that you're with, right? So like you're at like on your vacation and you want to have a picture with your family. So you stop somebody and you say, can you take our picture? Or you say, can you get our picture? Both of those are things that people say in English. The more common one, the one that people say a lot is, can you take our picture? That's the one that native speakers usually say. Not because of a rule, not because it's the right way to say it, but it's just how people say it. Doesn't really make sense. Why are English speakers using a verb that doesn't make sense? Take? It's just how people say it. Can you take our picture? It's something that people say a lot. But you could also say, can you get our picture? Can you get our picture? Can you get our picture? Can you take our picture? That's what it means. So that one also can be correct. But can you get our picture? When you use the word can, when you're asking a question, can you get our picture? Can you take our picture? You're asking somebody else to do something for you, right? So I made the right answer take just because that's the one that people say all the time. But if you put get, that's okay. That's correct too. Do you want me to get you a coffee? That's going to be the correct answer. And it's the correct answer because remember, take means that something's sitting out. You don't have to ask permission to get it, right? You just take it, you just grab it. But do you want me to get you a coffee? You're asking somebody, do you want me to go buy you a coffee? Do you want me to go get a coffee from somewhere that somebody has made a coffee and I will go get it, right? It means that there was somebody else that made the coffee, right? So when you go to the store, like you go to like a coffee shop, you buy a coffee, you are getting a coffee. You get a coffee at the store. Or you can get a coffee from the cafeteria. You can get a coffee. Do you want me to get you a coffee? Just means you wouldn't say, do you want me to take you a coffee? You say get because it involves another person, right? Somebody has to give the coffee to you. You wouldn't say, do you want me to take you a coffee? Because there isn't a place where coffee is just, sitting out and you just grab it and you don't have to pay for it. It's not super common. But when it's free, right? If it's free and like there's just a table sitting out of free coffee or like there's a coffee thing, people in English will still say, oh, you can get a coffee right over there. But if you think about it, it just means somebody else made this coffee and I'm getting it, right? It just means even though I don't have to ask somebody permission to pour my own coffee, somebody else made it. I'm getting it from somebody else. Somebody else had to make it for me. They had to give it to me. And that's why you use get, because somebody gave it to you. Okay, now the next one. I hope I get a raise. So this one, pretty simple. I hope I get a raise. You have to use get because it involves somebody giving you more money. You can't take a raise, right? Because that's stealing. You can't take a raise because when you take, it's something that you give to yourself without permission, right? Without asking anybody or like paying it for it or anything. So if you say get, it means that I am getting a raise, I get a raise, I got a raise because somebody else is giving it to you. There's another person that's giving it to you. And the reason you can use the simple present tense, you may be thinking, well, why can I use this, like I get a raise, but I can't use he gets a car? Why? That doesn't make any sense. So I hope I get a raise. The reason that one's correct is because when you get a raise, right, when you get paid more, you get paid more every paycheck all the time. So every time you get another paycheck, you are paid the raise that you're given. It's not that you're getting more money every paycheck. It just means that every paycheck that I get, I am getting more money now. And that's why you can use get. I get a raise instead of I got a raise or I am getting a raise, right? Because you could say, if you said, I hope I am getting a raise, if you say, I hope, it means something that you wish. It's something that you want to happen. But if you said, I hope I am getting, when you use I am getting, it means that it's happening right now. But if you said, I hope, it means that it hadn't happened yet. It's something that you want to happen, but has not happened, right? So that's what's kind of complicated about it. I hope I get a raise is correct. I hope I am getting a raise. I hope I got a raise. That's not good either. But if you take away I hope, if you get rid of this part here, let me cross it out real quick. If you got rid of this, and oh, I didn't mean to go crazy there. If you just had I get a raise, if you said I got a raise, that's correct. If you said I am getting a raise, that's correct. It just depends on what you're trying to tell people. Okay, so I need to tell you about my date. Now remember, I need to tell you about my date. I need to say to you about my date. Remember that you tell someone something. You say something. You tell someone something. You say something. So in this sentence, it says, I need to you about my date. I need to tell you. So that's the person, that's the you, right? You tell someone something. I need to tell you about my date. Now you may be thinking, okay, teacher, you told me that I can use say if I put to after it, right? I need to say to you about my date. That's correct, right? No. And that's what's hard about this is because just because, here, we'll go back. Right? Just because you say, this sentence, it works. He said to our manager he wanted to quit. He told our manager he wanted to quit. You can use either of the verbs there. You just have to make sure you add a to if you use the verb said or say, right? The reason it works is because he told our manager, he told him, he gave him information, he gave him instruction. He said, I wanted to quit. But you could use he said because he said means, okay, these words came out of his mouth to our manager. He told our manager, he said to our manager, he wanted to quit. But let's see. The reason you can't say, I need to say to you about my date, the reason that one is incorrect, even though it uses to correctly and this correctly, even though it's using the correct structure, the correct sentence, it's not correct because of what the verbs mean. And this is why it's important to remember what the verbs mean, right? And how to use them. Because I need to tell you, you are telling a story. You are giving information, right? And say is just words that are coming out of my mouth. Anything. It doesn't have to be, it could be an instruction, it could be anything. It's just whatever they said, whatever they say. But when you're saying to somebody, I need to talk to you about my date, I need to tell you about my date, it means that you are going to say, you're going to talk about a story, right? But say is just talking about words that are coming out of your mouth. I need to say to you about my date. You could use it just because I need to say to you about my date. But it doesn't sound right to native English speakers because they think, why are they saying say? Why don't they say tell? I need to tell you about my date. Because when you tell somebody something, it's a story. It's about something that happened. But if somebody said, I need to say to you about my date, it's because it sounds a little weird because you only use say to just talk about anything that comes out. There's a better word to use than say, and it's tell, because it's very specific. We use it when we are telling stories, when you tell somebody to do something, instructions, information, if you are telling a story. So that's why it's tell. All right, now these ones are pretty easy. I put them in there just because we talked about them, but this one says, I like to write, or write. What is it? It's write with a W. So this one is just about spelling. Write, this write with the R-I-G-H-T, that one means like, good, that's right. Or directions, you turn left or you turn right. And this one, I just spelt a funny way to spell both of them, not because it means anything, but the correct way when you're talking about writing, like in a book or something, or on paper, you use W-R-I-T-E. Okay, now look at the picture, and which is it? This is a piece of pie, right? This is how you spell piece when you're talking about a chunk of something that was a whole. Right? A piece of pie has a bigger pie that you took some out of. This piece is like when you're describing something that's calm, right? Peace. Or like when there's like war and people say, we want peace, it means that they don't want any fighting. Things are calm. That's what this piece means. Now my computer is freezing. Okay. So this picture is of a bear, B-E-A-R, right? Because this bear, B-A-R-E, is this bear, bare feet, right? When there's nothing on it, right? No clothes or something. And this one, this bear, B-E-A-R, is an animal. And this one, again, is just a weird way that is a way to spell this. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, so now looking at this picture, this is a bowl of flour, right? It's not a flower, Flower, because that's like a plant, right? With petals and colors. This flour is what you use to make food with, right? Now, look at this picture. Ooh, looks kind of gross. This is a picture of meat, right? M-E-A-T. That's this kind of meat. But this kind of meat, M-E-E-T, is like when you meet somebody for the first time, or you go to a meeting, right? It's a thing that you go to where everybody's together. Meet. It's about people coming together. This meat is the stuff that you eat. And that is it for today. So I will see you next lesson.